In the heartland of Kansas, where the earth meets the heavens in an unending horizon, John Peterson, a farmer driven by efficiency, decides to remove a chapel dedicated to the Virgin Mary from his land. Little does he know, this decision will unravel a tapestry of events that defy logic and challenge the very core of his understanding of faith and destiny. As his cattle begin to act in ways that elude explanation, John is drawn back to the chapel he once dismissed, embarking on a profound journey that will transform his life forever. Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from in the comments. If you enjoy inspiring and mysterious stories like this, don't forget to like the video. And make sure you subscribe so you never miss our next powerful story. John Peterson, at 63, stands as a testament to the rugged spirit of the Kansas plains. Born and bred in this vast expanse, he is the steward of a legacy that has been cultivated with sweat and perseverance. The Peterson farm, a sanctuary of toil and tradition, has nurtured 3 generations, each etching their stories into the land. Amidst the waves of golden wheat and the steady hum of farm life, there exists a modest chapel, a sacred space dedicated to the Virgin Mary. This chapel, lovingly built by John's grandmother, Margaret, and revered by his devout mother, Anne, has been a constant amidst the shifting tides of time. For John, a man grounded in practicality, the chapel seemed a relic of bygone days, a sentimental, yet obstructive, structure. He respected his mother's unwavering faith, understanding the chapel's profound significance to her. However, as he envisioned a future defined by progress and expansion, the chapel became a hurdle in his path. The west pasture, where the chapel stood, offered the perfect expanse for new grazing land, a necessity for his modernizing plans. One Sunday morning, with the sun casting long shadows across the kitchen floor, John broached the subject with Anne. Amidst the aroma of her Sunday roast, he shared his intentions to dismantle the chapel. Though her response was quiet, the air grew heavy with unspoken sorrow and disappointment. John's resolve, however, remained unshaken, convinced of the practicality of his choice, even as a seed of doubt began to germinate within his heart. Under the vast Kansas sky, the Peterson farm sprawled, a tapestry woven with resilience and legacy. The land, handed down through the generations, was more than an expanse of soil. It was a living chronicle of the family's journey. Central to this narrative stood the chapel, nestled under the protective embrace of ancient oaks in the west pasture. Built by Margaret Peterson, it was a sanctuary of prayer and reflection, a beacon of enduring faith amidst the trials of life. And Peterson, with her steadfast devotion, made the chapel a daily pilgrimage, a ritual that tethered her to her mother's legacy and the Virgin Mary's quiet grace. To Anne, the chapel was a reservoir of comfort and continuity, a sacred oasis in the relentless demands of farm life. For John, however, it was a piece that disrupted the puzzle of progress he envisioned. Despite this, he honored his mother's devotion, watching silently as her faith imbued the chapel with life and purpose. As John stood at the crossroads of tradition and practicality, he was unknowingly poised on the edge of an internal struggle that would challenge his beliefs and reshape his understanding of faith, family, and his place within the divine tapestry of life. As the days waned and the plan to expand the farm loomed ever closer, John found himself inexplicably drawn to the chapel's stories. It was more than mere stone and wood. It was a vessel of memories and a testament to the faith that had been the lifeblood of the Petersons for generations. Unbeknownst to him, the decision to dismantle the chapel would set off a chain of events that would test the very foundation of his beliefs, leading him on a journey toward rediscovery and reconciliation. The path laid before him was not just one of physical transformation, but of spiritual rebirth, a pilgrimage back to the roots of his faith and the heart of his family's enduring legacy. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, golden shadows over the fields, John stood silently before and in their modest kitchen. The air was thick with unspoken words, and the aroma of freshly baked bread hung between them like an offering. John's heart was a tumult of ambition and doubt as he prepared to deliver the words that had been weighing heavily on his soul. "And," he began, his voice steady but tinged with an undercurrent of unease, "I've decided that we need to move forward with expanding the farm. The chapel, it will have to come down." And paused in her evening tasks, the wooden spoon in her hand dropping to the table with a soft clatter. Her eyes, usually so full of warmth and understanding, now bore into him with a mixture of disbelief and quiet desperation. "John, the chapel is more than just a building," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "It's where our family has found solace and strength for generations. It's where I feel closest to God and to those who came before us." John felt the weight of her words pressing upon him, a silent plea that tugged at his heart. Her attachment to the chapel was not just spiritual, but deeply personally linked to her past and a beacon of her faith. Yet the vision of a thriving farm, of providing a better future for their children, loomed large in his mind, a constant reminder of his duties as a provider. "I understand, and truly I do," he replied, his tone softening as he reached for her hand. "But this expansion is crucial. It's the only way we can ensure the farm's survival and secure a legacy for our children. It's a sacrifice we must make for the greater good," and withdrew her hand gently, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Sacrifice," she repeated, the word heavy with sorrow. "But at what cost, John? What do we lose when we tear down the places that hold our sacred memories, our family's history?" Her words lingered in the air, a poignant echo that reverberated through John's conscience. Yet, his resolve remained firm, buttressed by the weight of responsibility and the promise of progress. He nodded slowly, acknowledging her pain but steadfast in his decision. "I promise, and we will build something new, something that honors our past while looking towards the future." As the chapel's fate was sealed, a palpable sense of unease descended over the farm. The once harmonious rhythm of daily life now felt discordant, the familiar routines tinged with an air of melancholy. The chapel, with its weathered stones and sunlit-stained glass, stood like a silent sentinel, bearing witness to the unfolding drama. The morning of the demolition arrived, stark and clear, the sky a vast expanse of azure. John stood at a distance, watching as the workmen approached the chapel with their tools, the air alive with the sound of their purposeful strides. His heart was a cacophony of conflicting emotions: regret, resolve, and an unshakable sense of foreboding. And watched from the kitchen window, her face a mask of quiet resignation. She had spent the previous evening within the chapel's walls, her prayers mingling with the whispers of the past. It was a farewell of sorts, a final communion with the sacred space that had been her sanctuary. As the first stones were pried from their ancient moorings, a shiver ran through the farm, as though the land itself mourned the loss of something irreplaceable. The air was thick with dust and memories, each fragment a testament to the lives that had been shaped within those hallowed walls. John felt a pang of guilt as he witnessed the dismantling, a gnawing doubt that refused to be silenced. He turned away, seeking solace in the fields, hoping that the land would offer some measure of comfort or clarity. But the fields, usually so vibrant and full of promise, felt cold and unyielding, the earth beneath his feet a silent reproach. As the days passed, the farm's atmosphere grew increasingly strained. And silent sorrow was a constant presence, a reminder of the rift that had opened between them. Their conversations, once filled with warmth and shared dreams, now felt stilted and forced, each word a fragile bridge over the widening chasm. In the evenings, John found himself drawn to the remnants of the chapel, the scattered stones and shards of colored glass a poignant reminder of what had been lost. He would stand there, alone with his thoughts, grappling with the decisions that had led them to this point. It was during one of these solitary vigils that John experienced an unexpected moment of grace. As he stood amidst the ruins, the setting sun casting a golden glow over the land, he felt a profound sense of peace wash over him. It was as though the chapel, in its own quiet way, was offering him absolution, a reminder that faith was not confined to walls and stones, but lived on in the hearts of those who believed. In that moment, John understood that true progress could not be measured solely by tangible gains or material prosperity. It was a lesson in humility and trust, a call to reevaluate his priorities and seek a balance between ambition and faith. As the farm slowly adjusted to the absence of the chapel, John and Anne began the delicate process of reconciliation. Their journey was one of mutual understanding and rediscovery, a testament to the resilience of love and the enduring power of faith. Together they would honor the past while embracing the future, forging a new path that was both a tribute to their heritage and a beacon of hope for generations to come. The decision to remove the chapel had set off a chain of events that tested John's convictions, but it had also ignited a deeper exploration of his beliefs and values. In the end, it was a journey of spiritual rebirth, a pilgrimage back to the heart of his faith and the core of his family's legacy. And as the farm continued to thrive, John knew that the true measure of his success lay not in the expansion of land, but in the unity of spirit and the strength of the bonds that held them together. The removal of the chapel, a decision John had made with a heavy heart, seemed to mark the beginning of a curious chapter in the life of their farm. It was a crisp morning, the kind where the golden light of dawn danced across the dew-kissed fields, painting a picture of tranquility and promise. The air was filled with the familiar sound of cattle lowing in the distance, yet today, their cries seemed tinged with unease. John stood at the edge of the pasture, a frown creasing his brow. The grass was lush and green, the perfect haven for grazing, but the cattle clustered nervously at the far end, eyes wide with an inexplicable fear. He called out to them, his voice a blend of encouragement and confusion, but they refused to budge. Perplexed, John sought the counsel of Dr. Ellis, the local veterinarian. The two men walked the length of the pasture, discussing soil quality, possible predators, and any other factors that might explain the cattle's reluctance. Yet, as the sun climbed higher into the sky, their investigation yielded nothing. "I've never seen anything like it," Dr. Ellis admitted, adjusting his hat against the growing warmth of the day. "The conditions here are perfect. There's no reason for them to act this way." John nodded, though his mind was a whirl of questions. "Could it be the chapel?" he ventured, almost reluctantly. Dr. Ellis shrugged, skepticism mingling with curiosity. "Animals can be sensitive to changes in their environment, but this seems different." The conversation lingered with John as he returned to the farmhouse. And greeted him at the door, her gentle presence a balm to his troubled thoughts. She listened as he recounted the morning's events, her eyes thoughtful and serene. "Do you remember," she said softly, "how Father O'Reilly used to bless the fields every spring? He always said it brought peace to the land and the creatures that dwell on it." John nodded, his heart heavy with the memories of those rituals. "I thought it was just tradition," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't realize how much it meant to them, to us," and placed a comforting hand on his arm. "Perhaps it's time to consider what the chapel represented, John. It was more than just a building. It was a place of blessing, a symbol of our faith and gratitude." Her words lingered with John long after she had left to tend to her own tasks. As the day unfolded, he found himself drawn to the site where the chapel once stood. The ground was bare now, the grass just beginning to reclaim the space where the foundation had been. He knelt there, the earth cool beneath his fingers, and for the first time in years, he closed his eyes and offered a silent prayer. "Guide me," he whispered, the words carried away by a gentle breeze. "Help me understand." The days that followed were marked by a growing tension on the farm. The cattle's behavior showed no signs of improvement, and the strain on resources began to weigh heavily on John. Each passing day tested his pragmatic worldview, challenging his reliance on logic and reason alone. And remained a steadfast presence by his side, her faith unwavering. She spoke often of the chapel, of the blessings it had brought to their family and to the land. Her gentle reminders were like seeds, sowing doubt and introspection within John's heart. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the fields in a soft, golden glow, John found himself walking the perimeter of the pasture once more. The cattle were restless, their unease palpable in the fading light. He paused, leaning against the weathered fence, and watched them, his mind a tumult of thoughts. "Why won't they go in?" he murmured aloud, as if the answer might come to him from the very air around him. The question hung there, unanswered, until Anne joined him. She slipped her hand into his, her touch grounding him in the midst of his uncertainty. "Sometimes," she said, her voice gentle yet firm, "we need to look beyond what we can see and measure. Faith isn't always about understanding, John. It's about trust." Her words resonated with a truth he had long resisted. For years, he had clung to the tangible, the measurable, and the explainable. Yet here, in the face of the unexplainable, he felt the stirrings of something he couldn't quite name. It was a turning point, a moment of reckoning that would shape the path ahead. Together, they stood in silence, watching as the stars began to wink into existence above them. The farm was quiet now, the world bathed in the soft light of the moon. And in that stillness, John felt a shift within him, a subtle yet profound change in the way he perceived the world. The days stretched into weeks, and while the cattle remained stubbornly reluctant, John's perspective began to shift. He found himself returning to the site of the old chapel, seeking solace and reflection. Each visit brought a sense of peace, a reminder of the unseen forces at work in their lives. Anne, ever patient and nurturing, continued to support him, her faith a constant source of strength. She encouraged him to seek guidance from Father O'Reilly, to explore the spiritual dimensions of their challenges. Perhaps, she suggested one evening, it's time to rebuild not just the chapel, but our connection to something greater than ourselves. Her suggestion lingered in the air, a beacon of hope in the midst of uncertainty. It was a call to action, a reminder of the resilience of faith and the power of redemption. As the chapter of unexplainable phenomena drew to a close, John stood at a crossroads. The journey ahead was uncertain, fraught with challenges and questions yet unanswered. But he knew, deep in his heart, that he was not alone. The bonds of family, faith, and love would guide him, lighting the way toward a future filled with promise and grace. Together they would honor the past, embrace the present, and build a future that was both a tribute to their heritage and a testament to the enduring power of faith. And as the farm continued to thrive, John realized that the true measure of success lay not in the expansion of land, but in the unity of spirit and the strength of the bonds that held them together. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the fields, a tangible tension lingered in the air at the Sullivan farm. The once vibrant landscape now felt overshadowed by an invisible weight, a burden that pressed heavily on John's shoulders. Financial reports lay scattered across the kitchen table, their numbers glaring back at him like unanswered prayers. The whispers among the farmhands had grown louder, each murmur slicing through the fragile veil of composure he struggled to maintain. John found himself standing at the window, watching as the last of the farmhands made their way to their quarters. His heart ached with a frustration that seemed insurmountable. The farm, the tangible legacy of his family, was slipping through his fingers, and with it, his faith seemed to waver. Anne entered the room quietly, her presence a gentle balm against the storm brewing within him. Her eyes, deep and serene, met his with a quiet strength that never failed to ground him. She spoke softly, her voice a steady anchor. John, remember what Father Thomas always said: faith is not the absence of doubt, but the courage to face it. He turned away, his voice tinged with an edge of desperation. And I've tried to be strong, for you, for the children, for the farm. But it feels like everything is unraveling, and I don't know how to hold it together anymore. Anne approached him, placing a reassuring hand on his arm. We are not meant to carry these burdens alone. Perhaps this is a time to lean into faith, to seek guidance beyond what we can see. Her words lingered in the air, resonating with a truth that John struggled to accept. He nodded, though uncertainty still clouded his features. I just wish I could understand why this is happening, why everything feels so out of control. That night sleep eluded John. His mind raced with thoughts and fears, each more consuming than the last. As the hours stretched into the early morning, he found himself drawn to the remnants of the chapel that once stood proudly near the edge of the property. The chapel, a symbol of his family's faith and resilience, had been demolished years ago, leaving behind only fragments of its foundation. Driven by an inexplicable urge, John stepped out into the cool night air. The path to the chapel site was familiar, yet tonight it felt different, as if the very ground beneath his feet was guiding him towards something he needed to discover. The moon cast an ethereal glow over the ruins, illuminating the stones with a silvery light. John paused, his breath visible in the crisp air, and found himself overcome with emotion. Here, amidst the remnants of his past, he felt a profound vulnerability, a moment of raw honesty that stripped away his defenses. He knelt among the stones, his hands brushing against the weathered remnants of the chapel's foundation. "I don't know what to do," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I don't know how to save the farm, how to be the man my family needs." The silence that followed was both unsettling and comforting, as if the very air around him held a sacred presence. In that stillness, John felt a stirring within his heart, a whisper of something greater than himself. It was not an answer, nor a solution to his problems, but a gentle reminder that he was not alone. Tears filled his eyes as he bowed his head, allowing the weight of his burdens to spill forth in a heartfelt prayer. "Lord, I don't know if I have the strength to continue. But if there is a way, if there is hope, please show me." As he rose, a sense of peace washed over him, a quiet assurance that perhaps the journey ahead, while fraught with uncertainty, was not one he had to walk alone. The chapel, though reduced to ruins, stood as a testament to the resilience of faith, a reminder that redemption often comes in unexpected ways. When John returned to the farmhouse, he found in waiting a soft lamp illuminating the room. She looked up, her expression one of understanding. "Did you find what you were looking for?" He nodded, a newfound resolve in his eyes. "I think I found what I needed, a reminder that faith is not about having all the answers, but about trusting that we are not alone in our struggles." And smiled, her hand reaching for his. "And together, we will face whatever comes, knowing that we are guided by something greater than ourselves." In that moment, John recognized the strength that lay in vulnerability, the courage that came from acknowledging his limitations. The crisis of faith that had threatened to overwhelm him now seemed less daunting, a challenge to be faced with humility and hope. As dawn broke over the horizon, casting its light upon the fields, John felt a renewed sense of purpose. The challenges remained, but so too did the unwavering bonds of faith and love that held his family together. And with each step forward, guided by the enduring power of belief, he embraced the promise of a future filled with grace and possibility. As the first light of dawn filtered through the farmhouse windows, John stood quietly by the kitchen table, his heart brimming with a newfound resolve. The previous night's conversation with Anne had rekindled something within him, a sense of purpose, a calling to rebuild not only in the physical realm but within his own spirit. He knew what he had to do. The chapel, once a symbol of their faith and community, had been reduced to ruins by neglect and the relentless march of time. It was a place where generations had gathered to find solace and strength, and John could no longer bear the weight of its absence. Today, he would announce his intention to restore it, to breathe life back into its weathered stones. As the family gathered for breakfast, John cleared his throat, drawing their attention. "I've been thinking," he began, his voice steady yet infused with emotion. "It's time we rebuild the chapel. It's time to bring it back to life, for us and for the community." His words hung in the air, met with a moment of surprised silence. Anne's eyes met his, a quiet approval shining through her gaze. She reached across the table, her hand finding his, offering unwavering support without the need for words. The children, initially unsure, soon caught the spark of their father's conviction. Little Sarah clapped her hands in delight, her innocent enthusiasm a balm to John's soul. Peter, on the cusp of adolescence, nodded thoughtfully, recognizing the gravity of this endeavor. The farmhands, gathered outside for their morning assignments, listened intently as John shared his vision. There was a cautious optimism in their eyes, a flicker of hope that mirrored the morning sun cresting the horizon. The chapel had always been more than just a building. It was the heart of the farm, a testament to the unyielding spirit of their community. As days turned into weeks, the rebuilding began in earnest. Stones were gathered, each one a piece of history to be lovingly restored to its rightful place. The sound of hammers and saws filled the air, a symphony of progress echoing through the fields. John worked alongside the farmhands, his hands roughened by labor but his heart lightened by purpose. In the midst of this physical toil, John found himself engaging in an internal journey, a path of reconciliation and renewal. Each stone he laid was a prayer, each beam raised a testament to faith reborn. The process of rebuilding the chapel mirrored his own transformation, a delicate balance between progress and reverence for the traditions that had shaped him. As the chapel's walls rose, so too did John's understanding of what it meant to be a steward of both land and spirit. He learned to listen to the whispers of the past, to the quiet guidance of the present, and to the promises of the future. He discovered that true strength lay not in unyielding certainty, but in the humility to embrace doubt and the courage to seek grace. The return of the cattle to the pasture was a sign of this miraculous resolution. Slowly, they wandered back, drawn by an unseen force, their presence a testament to the healing that was taking place. It was as if the land itself was responding to the chapel's resurrection, a living metaphor for the renewal that was unfolding within John's heart. And watched all of this with a quiet pride, her love for John deepening as she witnessed his transformation. She saw the way he carried himself, how he engaged with the community, how he listened with an open heart. It was a testament to the power of faith and redemption, an unfolding of grace that touched everyone around him. The children, too, played their part in this sacred endeavor. Sarah's laughter filled the air as she danced among the stones, her joy a reflection of the hope that had taken root. Peter, ever watchful, learned the value of hard work and the importance of preserving their heritage, lessons that would guide him into adulthood. As the chapel neared completion, the community gathered for a simple blessing, a moment to acknowledge the journey they had undertaken together. John stood before them, his heart full, his voice steady as he spoke of gratitude and hope, of lessons learned and the promise of a future guided by faith. "We are not alone in this," he said, his eyes meeting those of his family and friends. "Together, we have faced challenges and found strength in our shared purpose. This chapel is more than just stones and mortar. It is a testament to the enduring power of faith and love." As the final stone was laid, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting its golden light upon the chapel's new facade. It was a moment of profound beauty, a reminder that even in darkness, there is always the promise of dawn. The rebuilding of the chapel set the stage for healing, not only within John but also within the community. It was a testament to the transformative power of humility, of openness to grace, and of the unwavering bonds of faith and love that held them all together. And as John stood within, their hands intertwined, they knew that this was just the beginning. The challenges would continue, as they always do, but armed with faith and the strength of community, they were ready to face whatever came their way. The future, filled with grace and possibility, awaited them, a promise renewed with each step forward. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, the farm awoke to a symphony of chirping birds and rustling leaves. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of fresh earth and dew-laden grass. The newly restored chapel stood proudly at the heart of the land, its presence a beacon of peace and spiritual renewal. It was as if the very soil had absorbed the grace that had poured forth during the rebuilding, nourishing not only the crops but also the souls that tended them. John stood at the edge of the field, watching the sun's rays illuminate the chapel's facade. The light danced across the stones, casting long shadows that seemed to whisper stories of redemption and hope. He took a deep breath, feeling a sense of gratitude swell within him. The chapel had become more than just a structure. It was a testament to the power of faith and community, a sanctuary where the divine touched the human heart. And joined him, her presence a gentle reminder of the love and support that had guided him through the darkest days. Her eyes mirrored the joy she felt, a quiet celebration of the harmony they had found. She slipped her hand into his, and they stood together in companionable silence, the weight of past burdens lifted. "This place," John said softly, his voice carrying a reverence that was new to him. "It's changed everything." And nodded, her smile warm and knowing. "It has, hasn't it? Sometimes, we need to rebuild to truly understand what we have." John turned to look at her, gratitude shining in his eyes. "I never thought I'd find peace like this. It's unexpected. Faith has a way of surprising us," and replied gently. "It's not always about understanding everything. Sometimes, it's about embracing the mystery." John pondered her words, feeling their truth settle into his heart. His journey had been one of practicality and reason, yet he had come to appreciate the inexplicable, the moments where faith bridged the gaps left by logic. The chapel, with its humble beauty, had become a symbol of that journey, a tangible reminder of the mysteries he now welcomed. As the day unfolded, the farm buzzed with life. The sounds of laughter and conversation filled the air, a testament to the community that had rallied around them. Friends and neighbors who had once helped lay the chapel's stones now gathered to celebrate its completion, their spirits lifted by the shared accomplishment. John moved among them, his heart full. He listened to their stories, their laughter, and their words of encouragement. Each interaction was a thread in the tapestry of fellowship, weaving together a narrative of faith, resilience, and love. He realized that the chapel was not just a place for him and an it belonged to everyone who had poured their hearts into its creation. As the sun began its descent, casting a golden hue across the landscape, John found himself drawn to the chapel once more. He entered quietly, the familiar scent of incense and candle wax enveloping him in a comforting embrace. The stained glass windows painted the interior with vibrant colors, creating an atmosphere of sacred beauty. John knelt at the altar, his heart open and vulnerable. He whispered a prayer of thanksgiving, acknowledging the journey that had brought him here. He prayed for guidance, for the strength to remain open to the divine possibilities that lay ahead. In that moment, he felt a profound sense of peace, a reassurance that he was exactly where he needed to be. And joined him, kneeling beside him in silent communion. Together, they offered their gratitude and hopes, their hearts united in a shared faith. The chapel, with its echoes of whispered prayers and quiet contemplation, became a sacred space of connection, a place where their souls could find solace and strength. As they rose to leave, John paused, his gaze lingering on the altar. "I think," he said, his voice steady and certain, "we've found something truly special here." And nodded, her eyes shining with understanding. "Yes, we have. And it's just the beginning." They stepped out into the fading light, the sky a canvas of vibrant hues. The farm stretched out before them, a testament to the labor of love that had transformed it into a sanctuary of its own. The chapel stood as a silent guardian, a beacon of faith that would guide them through whatever lay ahead. Together they walked hand in hand, the path before them illuminated by the gentle glow of twilight. The challenges would continue, as life always did, but they faced them now with renewed strength and a deeper understanding of the power of faith and love. In the quiet of the evening, as the stars began to twinkle overhead, John and Anne found themselves at peace, deeply connected to each other, their community, and the divine presence that had guided them every step of the way. Their journey, marked by redemption and grace, was a testament to the miracles that unfold when hearts are open to the sacred mysteries of faith. The farm, the chapel, and their love stood as enduring symbols of a newfound peace, a legacy that would continue to inspire and uplift all who encountered it. And as the night embraced them, John and Anne knew that their story, rich with hope and possibility, was far from over, a promise renewed with each step forward. If this story touched your heart, let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and share this video with someone who might need this message. And subscribe for more powerful stories of faith, mystery, and real-life lessons.